So I think there's many ways in which even it relates where we're finding creative expression. We're building kind of the alchemy of like our energy together as a group in this like artistic space, but we also, there's a message there. It's not just art for art's sake. And it's not just, oh, let's go hang out just because we like hanging out, with each other. I really found purpose there of like, oh, this is a really big platform. We have an opportunity to use this artistic platform in one way and also use it as a space to build a lot of trust and relationships really quickly over time. And I think it was also important to have a space where we were generating our own vision and imagining what's possible, both artistically, but also how do we actually shape our reality on campus? And I think that that was something that when we thought about what was the messaging or the message that we wanted to get out for PCC those following years, there was always a rich story to tell and share. And so I think it gave me an avenue to really not be afraid to use my own voice and not be afraid to be in concert and in relationship with other people who value the same thing, who feel the similarly, and also to not be afraid to talk to folks who may not be as aligned with what we were doing, but they were curious and they were open. And I think that there's something about being able to have almost like a organizational home on campus that made me less fearful about talking to people who I wasn't sure where they were at. Did they think the same, or were they open and willing to dialogue with me even if we didn't believe the same things or see eye to eye? I felt like I got more courage because I was able to express myself in a creative way with a bunch of folks. It made me feel more confident and secure in expressing myself in classrooms, in like other organizations, and then literally to administration. I was talking to them about advocating for a resource center on campus, and I had never been to like, I didn't have a training, I didn't have some position. I was a freshman who joined FSA Hip Hop, and then literally I was in this really important meeting and I was being listened to and heard.
I can't remember when it was, but somebody had this notion to say, hey, why don't we try doing the Filipino PCN basically? And then, of course, because UCSC were always different, we didn't want to call it a PCN, so we called it the PCP at that time, Filipino Cultural Performance, or I think PCC, Filipino Cultural Celebration. We didn't want to call it PCN. So the fact that we had the numbers to actually have a PCN or a PCC was really cool. And so my senior year, when fall came, we made it a goal for us, like we're going to do it this year in 92. So that was kind of like that whole inspiration from coming out of Watsonville, where we kind of said, hey, we need to continue showcasing what our dances and keeping that history alive through dances. So I think that was like my personal experience going from one year to another, was just seeing that expansion and then having all these enough people to say, hey, we're going to do it.
There's things that stand out for me back then. We always geared up for the whole one of main event being the PCC, right? But as being part of PDT, I think having the opportunity to teach the next generation on the Filipino culture and the dances, and being able to perform those even at the small college nights, I thought those were, it's like kind of like our rehearsals to the big main event. Those were things that kind of stood out for me. I remember, like, even in my biochem, or it was my animal phys classes, I would be with my friends, and I would be doodling different formations of Pandango on my notes and not paying attention really in class, because I don't know, it's just kind of, it kind of, I started like living and breathing being part of PDT, and always thinking about like how do we make it for the next big performance, and how do we bring something new, and so it really motivated me, throughout my career or throughout my student life at Santa Cruz, and so yeah, those are like little things that kind of stand out in my head.
Being part of FSA, as I said earlier, was, it helped me be more. It helped in my training to become, an actress in the Bay Area, right? Like I said earlier, like, being able to be a part of this community, and them very, very supportive of my talents and saying, hey, you should be, you should sing here, you should perform here. And so after I met a few people there who actually helped me out and find some auditions for Miss Saigon. It was really popular back then because Lea Salonga, right, was really the it girl back then. And so, and so one of the girls from FSA who lives in LA, she calls me and says, hey, I found this ad, to, audition for Miss Saigon in Broadway. So they came here to San Francisco and I met them. And so that was just sort of, that led me to where I am. I mean, I did audition for a Broadway production. The way it works on Broadway is you had to audition for them multiple times before they cast you, right? And so I kind of missed my chance. I don't want to get into detail, but I didn't dance. That was the one thing that I didn't do, I should have done. But that was the only thing that held me back. And then they closed. So I lost my opportunity. But then, they started showing it here around the Bay Area. And so I was able to get that, and if you have some hidden talent, being Filipino, it's kind of, they say that, the Filipinos have a lot of talents in many things, like in singing and stuff. And it's like, use that talent, bring it on, bring it to PCCs and just, be part of it.
I didn't go into college thinking I was going to do theater. I went in going to study computer engineering and studied it for 3 years. And because of PCC, because of the opportunity to be with PCC and learn telling stories, and not just any story, but our stories, having that outlet to do that really opened my eyes of the possibilities of my creativity and my desire to go down in that path. And I would say, if I'm talking about specifically about the time there at PCC and the impact that it had on my life, I would say it changed my life. It changed my whole trajectory. Today, I'm a professional freelance entertainment person that goes and I do shows. I get to perform and I make a living doing this. And I have to thank this organization, these opportunities that I had when I was at UC Santa Cruz, through PCC, through FSA, and the support network that really allowed me to shine. I'm so glad that we're here in this PCC 33 and this legacy to see that it continues. You don't really know what's ahead of you after you leave this institution. At times, it's such an open world, right? So vast. You're out in the middle of the ocean. Where are you going to sail to? I don't know. The wind was blowing, though. That's what I knew. That's what I had, and I had at least a small direction of going to a circus school. I was into theater, but I also was into clowning and comedy and nonverbal comedy. And clowning was so fascinating to me. And so I found this circus school in San Francisco. I ended up going into studying clowning for an extra 2 years, and then studied acrobatics, learning how to tumble, learning how to be physical with my body to tell stories. And then from that point, I was able to get into various variety shows, different circus shows, different plays, using the art of clowning and acrobatics in those shows. But the belief of knowing that this is what I wanted to do probably couldn't have been possible. Like 100%, not even something I probably would have come up with if I hadn't been brought in, if I hadn't given that opportunity to explore through the theatrical opportunities that PCC had. Like, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for having the organization of FSA, that support network, the ability to do a show at UC Santa Cruz where I can play a role that I feel like that really represents a piece of my culture that I can identify with. I think that's really meaningful.